Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for joining us. You can find us on our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, Hive, and Blue Sky. Babe, what you looking at over there? What you looking at?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about some movies today, folks.
My hair is jacked up.
Why didn't you brush your hair, babe?
I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? Why?
I'm going to share.
What's the point at this point in life? Why do I need to brush my hair anymore?
Because you just
What do I have to prove? Who do I have to impress?
Me.
I already got you.
You need to prove that you know how to brush your hair.
I already got you, girl. I don't need to prove nothing else. You ain't going nowhere.
You crazy.
Hey, last week I forgot to show you this. I'm going to show you now. There's a poster we got.
Oh, yeah.
They were giving these out at AMC, or I don't know if all theaters or just AMC, but anyway, if you went, so we got one.
Nice.
I actually have 3.
Wow.
So if you want one and you missed out,
Yep.
shoot me a message. And maybe, just maybe, I'll send it to you.
Because last week it was Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
All the apes, all the time.
Yeah, man.
All right.
We got all kinds of stuff this week.
We got a random.
We got horror, we got documentary, we got
Random.
imagination, we got some gritty crime,
You're a gritty crime.
we got pickled nonsense. Anyway, where are we going first?
We're going to go with a horror movie because we are late to the party on this, and I've been wanting to watch it because it was on the 50 most scariest movies according to science. So I had to watch it. I'll be posting, continuing my posts on the 50 scariest movies. I've only got about 6 or 7 left. So here we go.
What
This
is
is
the
the
movie?
movie Talk to Me.
Oh, I got to jump in there. I mean, keep going. Go ahead.
All right. So basically, the movie is that supposedly you see in the trailer, you grab onto the hand, you tell it, talk to me. And on the other side is a ghost entity of some sort. The hand is basically a conduit similar to maybe a Ouija board or a seance kind of thing, but you're using the hand as your conduit. According to the movie, supposedly it's a real hand. It's a dead hand that was encased in, I don't know, did they say wax or cement or whatever? I don't know. It's a real hand.
You paid more attention than I did.
And basically, you invite the spirit to come into your body and take possession of it. And as you see, you can only go for 90 seconds because the guy asks, well, why only 90 seconds? It's like, because then they want to stay. Dun, dun, dun.
That movie wasn't that good.
Guys.
It had moments.
I'm so confused and conflicted because there are so many people out there like, this is the best horror movie ever. And then the other half are like, this movie was crap.
I know another friend of mine said, this is the most horrible waste of my time I've ever had. Now, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was an interesting premise.
Very.
I thought it was well executed on most fronts. There is a whole thing kind of dealing with addiction and obsession and some loss and that kind of stuff. So there's depth to it.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many just stupid decision making.
Oh, it's an embalmed hand.
Oh yeah, there's so many just stupid decisions and like ongoing stupid decisions, and where it's kind of gets repetitive because it's like the addiction to doing it, but you know what's causing it. It's just it becomes this whole thing of
it's based. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
It's kind of like a new version of Flatliners. Right, where he
kept going. Flatliners is good.
I know, but you know that thrill of like, yeah, I want to go under again. Let me do it again. That's what happens to the main character, the girl here. She's like, it's such an adrenaline rush for her, and at some point,
see where it loses me.
She meets a spirit that she's familiar with, and
when it loses me on that front is I get the addiction to that kind of stuff, but when you witness the things that you've witnessed, and it's starting to out you and stuff like. Unless it's
you're just dumb.
The entity being sucked in or, whatever, it does fall in the realm of very much like a drug thing where it's ruining your life, but you can't help yourselves. But there was nothing there that I ever saw. Maybe it was me, but I never saw anything that would make it addictive. Like, what were you getting to go back? There was nothing Nothing other than
we don't get to see it or feel it. It's just her telling us it was an adrenaline rush. You have to do
it. And so there's nothing that makes me say, oh, I get. There's some later stuff of the connections that she's making and stuff. You say, okay, I get maybe why she can't stop, but never impactful enough that I was like, I get it. You're stupid to do it, but I understand why you may want to do it. I never had that. I think had it been better, the idea I think would have worked better had it stayed that whole party trick thing, obsession, and then the aftermath of them doing it, as opposed to the aftermath, but oh, she also needs to do it more often. And there's some later elements of why they have to do it that actually makes sense.
That makes sense.
And
with
that's
another
stuff,
character. And see, and I thought that story was more compelling than her, unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe the movie just needed to be cut down.
Yeah, I don't
and get rid of a lot of the repetitive nature, because there's like almost a montage, isn't there?
We need
where they just keep doing it over and over and over, and I just got to where I don't care. Like I lost interest pretty quick.
You did, and I could see it. Your body language changed while we were watching it.
And I really wanted to see this movie.
Yeah, and I've been waiting to see it, and I think what's upsetting to me is on the science of scare thing is it's way up there at the top, and this is not at all scary.
No, there were elements like I didn't hate the movie either. I just, the repetitive nature started losing me, the bad decision making. Like, and I'm all for horror films with a lot of bad decision making, because that's usually what leads into most of the horror elements of a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that, and it's also, I even get annoying characters because then you can't wait for them to be killed. But this one didn't have, I don't think, as many annoying characters really. But it's just,
she became annoying to me, which is unfortunate, because I think we're supposed to really care about her and the trauma and loss that she's gone through in her life, and why she feels like she needs to do this to feel a connection. But I actually felt more compelled by the secondary story of a secondary character, and kind of like when you get into the other side, or the ether, or whatever, the beyond we want to call it. I call it the ether because it's from the other movie. Sorry, right? The
Thor.
Yeah, not the ether. What was the other movie? The one where the lady talking in the mask? Give me back my baby. Oh gosh, the old lady with the mask, and she's talking to the guy. Where they have to find the red door. What's that place called?
Insidious.
Yeah, but what's the place called? Something. Well, that place. That's where we get the secondary character. That story was much more compelling about what he saw, how it connected, what happens when it goes wrong, and what's actually happening on the other side versus what you see here. See, if we had gone there, that was actually kind of creepy. I will give him a little bit of props. The further. Yes. The further.
I got it before I looked it up.
I'll give him some props on some of the makeup, some of the special effects. It had good blood work and some good stuff that happens.
Yeah, there's a moment where somebody's getting pummeled. It's actually really well done. And like I said, the premise is interesting. And who knows? I always make me wonder. That was a horrible use.
Say again.
Let's start again in a sentence that makes sense. I'm always intrigued, and it makes me wonder when a film is from another country.
That's the other
sometimes, because this is an Australian film.
I was just like, what the heck are they saying?
Well, I didn't have problems with that. I understood what they were saying.
It took me a second.
But it's that sensibilities of what their context of storytelling is sometimes.
What they find scary.
Or the way they found the craft in it. Because if you watch an Asian horror film, it's way different than the way an American horror film is crafted. I don't think Australia would really be that different, but I don't think that's what was the problem with the film. I just think there's too much stuff trying to make it a deeper concept, and I think there was more messages that they were trying to play out, and instead it just got lost on itself and became repetitive and like, okay, is this almost over? That's what I started getting about halfway through it. I'm like, are we almost to the end? Do I have to stay with this? Are we going to still watch this?
Yeah.
And usually I'll ask you, that's when you usually know I'm annoyed with the movie. I'm like, did you want to finish this?
Yeah, we had to. I had to. I mean,
but I'm a firm believer in not turning off a movie. It has to be unwatchable for me to turn something off, because
once or twice.
Sometimes it's that last 30, 40 minutes brings all the stuff that annoyed you in, and you're like, oh, that's why they were doing this. Well, that's why it annoyed me. Okay, now it makes total sense. So I firmly believe, and I also will not review a movie if I do not watch it to the end, because I don't think it's fair to the movie to say this movie is trash and I watched 5 minutes of it.
Yeah, that's
right. And sometimes there's good things that I've always been one of the reviewers that I try to find a positive in every experience, whether it's like you said, some of the great blood and makeup,
Good.
the interesting aspects of the story that might have fallen short, whatever it is. It's just.
And the last part of the movie is good. It's
Yeah,
better
all right.
than the first.
I just by the time we got to that, I just didn't care anymore.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So
I wanted it to stop talking to me.
I know. So if you're interested in the movie Talk to Me, perhaps you've already seen it and you thought it was the scariest thing ever. According to the Science of Scare, it's the 10th scariest movie out there.
Now, I love the idea of that hand,
Yeah.
and I want one for our house.
No, not happening.
Especially for like our Halloween stuff, to have it sitting there and anybody comes in, they have to talk to it before they let it come in the house.
No.
That'd be a fun to make one.
No. Anyways, all right, check it out.
It's available now on
everywhere.
Well, I think it's on Blu-ray and everything, but what are we watching it?
Online. It's on the line.
I don't know, you don't remember which thing it was?
Oh goodness! Please hold.
Anyway, just search.
It's out there.
You can watch it. Yeah, it's been out for a while. So
yeah,
anyway,
we
moving on.
missed
What's
it.
next? What else we got?
I may just finish this.
Come on, woman.
It's available on Paramount Plus.
Okay, come on, woman. What's next?
All right. Are you okay if we go here,
I don't care.
guys? Left turn. Don't punch me.
Yeah, the movie
Left
that.
turn flag.
Yeah, you said left turn, not right turn.
Oh, well, I'm taking a hard left. Guys, this was amazing, and I didn't know I was even interested. This is the new documentary about the Blue Angels. It is filmed specifically for IMAX, and it uses the same filming technology that we see in the new
Top Gun.
Top
Maverick.
Gun movie, where you see the cameras inside
Well, you're
and under
basically
and
in
on
the
top of
plane.
the plane. You are in the plane flying with these people.
Well, I love that. I had a little bit of a disappointment factor,
Okay,
but
tell me.
I'll explain that in a
Okay.
second. So, basically, this is a Prime Video release,
Mhm.
but it is in theaters right now until May 23rd. And I would suggest, if you're going to watch it and
Yeah.
can, go see it on the biggest screen possible, because I think all the jet stuff and all that stuff will probably look pretty amazing with the sound system and everything else. But if not, you can watch it on Prime on this week when it hits Prime at home as well. But this is not a full history documentary about the Blue Angels, which is what was a little bit let down to me. I was hoping to
Oh, I
get.
gotcha.
I was hoping.
They
I still.
sprinkle in a little.
It was still fantastic, yes, and it does tell you a little bit of history. But I was hoping it was like a deep dive into the history of the Blue
Gotcha.
Angels and when they started and all that stuff, and the different planes that
you get
used
a
up-
little bit
up
of
until
it.
they got to the F-18s. But no, this is basically following a 1 year.
One team.
One team for 1 year with some of the new people, as well as showing them kind of picking replacements for the next year, and then showing their training, and in the midst of that, you do get some of the history of the Blue Angels and their planes, and the military services to get to there, and what it entails, and some of the training, and then some of the history of accidents and things that have happened. So my own disappointment of what I was initially getting was quickly thrown away, because it is still that good. It is still fantastic.
It is a really good film that I actually paid attention to, surprisingly, because sometimes I'm doing other things.
No, all
But
the time
actually-
she gets unless we're at the theater, she gets on her phone and
I'm playing brain games.
she's playing games, watching toenail videos. I'm like, we're watching a movie.
I can also watch toenails while I watch a movie.
No, she can't, because then she asks me lots of questions.
Anyways, I found it to be very good. It was a little bit stressful when you see these maneuvers they're doing. Like they're 18 inches away from each other. Like that. This is how far I am from the other plane that's on top of my head that I could crash into. And if I crash into a plane, all the others are going to crash.
Well, I found
This
it
is
cool
scary.
because they talk about the diamond maneuver, which is one of their signature
Woo!
moves. And throughout the season, they're training to get closer and closer. So by the time they get to those last few shows, they want to be up to 12 inches away from each other or something like that.
It's scary.
And they talk about, which the thing I did find, I was so glad they touched on, was actually how they line it up too. We're talking about like, well, I have to have this part of my plane under the Y or under the N or
they're
whatever.
looking at they start on the little yellow part of the fin of the thing. Then they move into here. And I'm just like,
But it's interesting on
Oh
their
my
markers that they're
gosh.
looking at. It's like, okay, at the start of the season, we're on the yellow tip of the wing. By the time the season's in, I want to be as close to the Y as I can, or whatever it was. I don't know if that's actually.
it's scary. I'm going to put a picture in.
Uh,
I was freaking out.
but
They
there's
were
a lot
making
of
me
great
nervous.
footage outside of like air show footage, if you get to see them. And if you've never seen the Blue Angels live, it's amazing. It's very loud. I grew up as somebody who was like a massive fighter jet fan. I had a special phone number I got from a different friend that you used to be able to call the different branches of the military, and they would send you like an envelope like filled randomly. You just call them, give them your address. It was like an automated thing. You just I don't know who set this up. I don't know how my friend found it, but you just call it. It was an automated thing. You left your name and your address, and then like 2-3 weeks later, a manila envelope showed up in my house, and it was just filled with 8x10s of different jets and planes.
Yeah, I used to do that with NASA. You could write a letter and be like, "Can you please send pictures of the Apollo whatever mission?" And they'd send you a whole envelope and a letter.
Yeah, I had plane pictures all over my. I had phases, but I had the full of jets. I wanted to be a fighter pilot at one point, and I got away from that because back then that's when they started saying you couldn't, if you had glasses, you couldn't fly planes, which they've changed that.
Now you can wear contacts, right?
Yeah, but you can wear glasses on some of them now. But anyway,
I have to wear glasses.
But I used to go to some air shows, and I love the Thunderbirds and I love the Blue Angels. And so getting to take a deep dive into Blue Angels thing, kind of like not only had that nostalgic feeling of being at the air shows, which it's now been 20, 30 years since I've been to an air show, but kind of took me back to those days and how loud it was and how crazy cool it was. And then getting to also fly within the cockpit with them.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest issue when you would cringe and jump and freak out when they come close to each other. My biggest thing was when like they were flying and one guy who was, once they start explaining, you realize the whole time they're flying, this guy's looking over here, and you're like, dude, look straight ahead. Why do you keep looking away from? But you realize he's marking his thing and he's got to keep track on that line or whatever. But I'm like, you're all flying together and you're looking over here, fool. All I can imagine is you looking like this and flying the wrong place.
Well, you remember the one guy took off and went the wrong direction. And the other thing that's cool is that you don't realize, so yeah, there's 6 guys in planes, but you don't know the number of people on the ground that are monitoring this. They're monitoring speed, the distance apart, the knots of whatever, like everybody, this lady's measuring. That's all her job is, to measure. And then she comes back and like, here's everything you did wrong.
She's the blue. They call her the doctor. She's like the surgeon. Excuse me.
Yes, at whatever flight time you were this centimeters of whatever. Like she's out there like measuring, but not. I mean, they're on top of it. Then you have an actual doctor that's monitoring their heart responses and rates and all that because of the G-force.
I like too when they shift into showing some of the new candidates. That
G-force training.
The G-force training, you can see people passing out.
People are like, and they're like,
which I've used to watch videos of that sometimes. The lady one was really funny because she wakes up, she's like.
Yeah, so they show one of the first female fighter jet pilots. So I mean, it's awesome. And then the ground crew and the airplane people and the transport people from show to show. And
the only thing they didn't show that I'm very upset about is I still want to see their transportation of the planes themselves. And I am under the assumption they just fly the plane to the next location. But I'm like, how many of us have ever seen just a Blue Angel plane fly by?
No.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's an airplane. I can't imagine any kind of thing that would transport it from Texas to Florida other than just fly the plane over there.
It says the demo pilots fly the jets from the sites. So there you go.
The demo pilots.
So those guys, they actually fly their planes to the next show site.
But they were transporting on those big cargo planes.
I have no idea. Then maybe it's a second tier pilot, or maybe it's their pilot, the guy, the make ready jet guy.
I don't know.
The crew guy, because there's the 2 teams. So this is the other thing that I found really interesting. Chief or boss or whatever, the main guy.
Well, you remember they mentioned there was like 8 of them and not 6.
Right.
So it makes you wonder if some of those other ones are backups, and maybe the backup ones fly them.
I don't know, but it says
because they have like a big transport plane that's flying by the Marines.
The Marines
that transport them to the next thing because they're basically like a band on tour.
Yeah.
And they fly from town to town and do the shows, and they go to the next town to show. But their tour buses.
Demo pilots fly the jets from show sites. Blue Angels have a Boeing FA-18 Super Hornet. That's the one that they put all this stuff, right? And it says, in case of anything, everything can be made combat ready in 72 hours. If they have to go fight, they're going to go fight too. By the way.
Yeah.
They're actual fighter
pilots. They've got to strap on the missiles.
But the interesting was Boss, who's the main guy. He's like, I have never ever been worried about my jet being ready or checked anything. He goes, because I trust that guy.
They just get in the plane and go.
He walks in, he straps in, he flies.
Yeah, if that guy says it's ready, it's ready.
It's ready. So maybe that other guy, the make ready people, are the ones that fly it. I don't know. No. Somebody's flying them, babe.
I know that, but it's that chameleon thing, because I never thought about that until they were showing us load on the cargo plane.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
carrying them to the next place. I
And
said, okay.
everybody's like this.
Yeah, but I'm like, okay, I see you trained up for the pilots. Okay, so now who is flying those planes? Not that I'm delusional enough to think they load the planes on a truck or nothing like that. Like, I know they fly there, but I'm just like, who's loading them up? And who's flying them over there? And because they can't risk the pilots flying them over there, I would assume, because what if something happens and they can't have them for the show? You know,
I know.
there's too many, but I don't know. They may very well only let the pilot fly it, so you never know.
Who knows?
Anyway,
it was actually
really good
interesting,
documentary.
really good. You should check it out.
And if you're somebody that doesn't know who the Blue
Air Show.
Angels, first of all, shame on you.
Shame. Let me ring the bell. Shame.
Not that you need to know their history, but you should have at least heard of them. They're like a military thing. It's been around since what, the 50s or the 40s or
I want to go see
something.
the Thunderbirds.
The Thunderbirds fly the F-16.
It's the Air Force.
Yes, the Air Force. They fly the
And
F-16.
supposedly, like I told you, I've seen the Thunderbirds because my dad worked at the Air Force Base.
Yeah,
So
the
supposedly
Thunderbirds
I've
were always
seen
my
this.
favorite, but the Blue Angels are.
I have no.
There's
memory
three
of this.
really top tier ones. There's the Blue Angels. There's a French one,
Oh.
and then I think the Thunderbirds are the third one.
Oh, okay.
As far as like not necessarily skill level, but on history, I think Thunderbirds was the third in the line. I think Blue Angels was first. I think that French one was next, and then the Thunderbirds.
What are the French ones?
Huh?
What are the French ones?
I don't know. If you go look up the Blue Angels and the Wikipedia,
French equivalent.
Yeah, but I was reading some backstory on the Blue Angel stuff. I found out the whole thing about it, saying they were like the second oldest one or something. Anyway, the Blue Angels, like I said, it's in theaters now. If you can check it out and go watch it in IMAX, I guarantee you won't be disappointed. It's amazing looking. It's
The
loud.
Patriote de France.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you can't
Never
get
heard
there,
of
if you can't find it near you, it will be on Prime Video on May 23rd.
And we should go to an air show.
Yeah, I think we need.
They've already been to Fort Worth this year, so we'll have to catch it next year.
Yeah.
But now we can go see the
So we're going to call the
Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds instead.
Correct.
I like the
right.
F-16. That's just the plane I like.
I got you.
And you know what one of the differences between the F-18 and the F-16?
What's that?
Actually, the F-16 almost every fighter jet, at least used to be, so don't correct me if I'm wrong because it may be changed now. But the biggest difference is most jets fly here.
Yes.
F-16 flies over here. See? Anyway. And if I'm wrong, correct me because that used to be a big thing about it. Now it may not be there. But I don't think they're manufacturing the F-16 anymore. So maybe the Thunderbirds are the only people that use them now. I don't think they're actually in active deployment any longer. Or at least that's what I heard at one point. So I don't know.
All right.
I don't keep up with with all the planes and stuff like I used to.
All right. Tell me about this movie.
Which one?
This.
You want that one instead?
Yes. Tell me about this.
All
I need
right.
to
So
know.
the next one is If.
And or IF.
Well, it's If.
I want to call it Maya.
They say If in the movie as well. It stands for imaginary friends, but they call each other Ifs.
Okay.
So that is like their
Thing.
name. Coming off of his horror success with The Quiet Place, now it's the Quiet Place franchise, John Krasinski has now once again wrote and directed this movie, but this is obviously more of a family film. The movie's gotten a bad rap. I don't think it's gotten really great reviews. It does have some issues, but I actually really enjoyed this movie for what it is. It was way more depth to it than I thought.
Okay.
I think the biggest problem with this movie for myself is the infusion of comedy moments at the wrong time, taking away from the heavy moments. So like, for instance, there's a moment where two people hug. It's a big moment of, oh my God, it's you and this and this and this. And then they infuse like the big purple thing holding a tissue kind of off to the side, which is kind of funny, but you're taking that impact of that moment away by shoehorning that comedy in.
Yeah, I got you.
The premise is basically Ryan Reynolds, or no, excuse me, not Ryan Reynolds. John Krasinski is actually in the movie as well, playing the young girl's dad. And they've dealt with some other trauma, and now they're dealing with some new things. So she's kind of staying with him, and she ends up discovering this group of creatures and people that Ryan Reynolds is kind of in charge of. And they're all imaginary friends that have been forgotten because their kids grew up and stopped believing in them. So now they're just kind of roaming around. They're trying to find new kids, but a lot of them can't get placed. They're having their own problems. And Ryan Reynolds' job is to try to find them. And so, but for whatever reason, she can see them.
Oh, she can still see that.
And so she kind of essentially she's dealing with her own stuff, but she starts helping them try to place them and find their place. And there's some twists and turns and stuff that how she's connected deeper. That you know right away. They're like, don't tell her that. She doesn't need to know that
Oh,
information.
so something.
She
else
knows
is
something else is
happening.
connected,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to spoil the ending.
Don't spoil it.
What makes this movie work more than it doesn't are the ifs themselves. Ryan Reynolds is almost a second tier character. Him and John Krasinski both. She's really the lead. They're both in the movie pretty heavily, but they kind of take second fiddle to her and the ifs. And the ifs are really well executed. It's an all-star cast.
Yeah, there's tons of good people in this.
I don't know if I have the rest of them listed on here, but it's. I can tell you. Hold on, let me go down here. Then I'll tell you. So I can tell you. Does it open this way? Yeah, I think it does. So here, I'll tell you in the groups of them, just the kind of thing you get. So you got Sam Rockwell, who's one of them. You got Steve Carell, who's playing the big purple one. So it's kind of an office reunion between John Krasinski, and he apparently wrote this for Steve Carell. And he's like, so if he won't do this, I don't know what we're going to do. Then you've got Sebastian Maniscalco doing one, which we think is funny. Richard Jenkins, which is the older guy that's the dad in Step Brothers.
Yes.
And he plays someone who looks kind of like him.
Oh, that's funny.
And you got George Clooney, you got Matt Damon, you got a whole these different people. But it's interesting because you're getting to kind of learn the history, and all these different ifs get their own moments to shine.
Yeah, that's nice.
Without taking over. The real focus is Blue, which is the purple guy.
Okay.
Which is touch base in the movie. It's like, why is your name Blue if you're purple? He looks like a giant grimace, essentially. But it's these three people are the primaries. Okay. And then there's one that's kind of a Betty Boop looking ballet dancer kind of thing. That it's her connection is probably one of the ones that make you cry.
Oh, okay.
And so they're all kind of the main things. Like I said, they're running around. And I think one of the more entertaining aspects is when they start trying to reconnect them. And Bobby Moynihan has a very small role in here. But his connection and the scenes they use him, I think, are some of the best in the whole movie. But it is a heartwarming movie. It's funny. All the CGI animation stuff is extremely well done. And there's a great story in there. And I think it's a movie that would connect to most people in some fashion. I think you will actually probably like it, despite.
I had no interest.
I know it's one of those movies,
I mean,
but it is one of those movies I can see where it's kind of like, do I care about this?
But yeah, no. If you think I'll like it, I probably will.
But you may also, as I say that, I think you would like it as a whole, but I think you may also get annoyed with some of the chaos of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because there is some stuff where some of the characters are going crazy and chaos, and then but the real missteps for me were some of the laughs that I think it was shoehorning too many things of trying to make jokes when you didn't always need a joke. But it is what it is. I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't a movie that's outside of the creative nature of the characters. It's not super groundbreaking. It's nothing great, but I think it's a movie I think families could watch, and it's got a big heart to it, that kind of thing.
There you go. Okay, that's good.
It's not one I would say rush out to the theater, but I still think it's one worth checking out.
If you need something to take your kids to.
Yeah.
All right then. Check it out.
What else we got?
This one.
Is that the last one?
Yes, and I am intrigued.
No,
no,
okay.
there's that one.
All
because I saw that this is actually getting the digital release.
Yeah. It's only getting a digital release. Should we talk about this one?
Because I got to know, because this is your man.
So Jean-Claude Van Damme is back in Darkness of Man.
Okay.
Which is it's an action movie, but it's more of kind of a gritty film noir kind of thing. It's not the high-flying, jump-kicking Van Damme that we're used to, although he can still do a lot of that stuff. That's kind of not the point of the character. It's basically about this guy who's kind of a washed-up former operative of some sort, and there's a thing, kind of a mission thing that goes wrong, and then he promises after somebody's killed to watch out for their kid or something. And so then he jumps years ahead, and there's just street gang turf wars, and this kid's kind of in the middle of them, so he's trying to help out, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And he's basically kind of where he'll do anything to protect this kid, and you kind of start understanding why. And it's not some big mission. It's just this kid's got sucked into these Asian gang warfare city crime thing.
Okay. Well,
Of course, me being a fan, I'm super excited
of
to
course.
get some Van Damme. And I have really enjoyed the last few movies he's done, this one included, because it's a little heavier on the story. It's a little more time for him to try to act. It's not just biding time for him to do the splits or to jump kick, which I'm fine with that as well. Where this movie struggles, I enjoy the movie. The movie's actually not bad. He does a voiceover in the movie, and his accent makes it less impactful. It's like the like I said, like the film noir detective things where the guy's saying, woke up in the hotel and blah blah blah. It's that kind of narration, but when you hear him, it doesn't always have the same gritty tone that it's the rest of the movie has.
Yeah.
So had they gotten rid of that part, I think it would have worked a little bit better. But you also know his voice, you expect it. But it's got an interesting cast with Christina Loken's in it. She plays like his girlfriend. You've got Spencer Breslin, who I didn't even recognize at first, which is Abigail Breslin's brother, but he was the little chubby kid elf in Santa Claus 3.
Yes.
He's been in a bunch of stuff. I think he was in Cat in the Hat.
They still have a little kid picture of him.
Yeah, if you go look at picture of him, go to the photos of him from the movie itself. Let's scroll back up.
Let me go back to here.
You go back to the movie and I'll show you.
Stop.
Stupid pop-ups. I didn't even realize it was him until I was watching it for a few minutes, and then I was like, "Wait, is that Spencer Breslin?" Because he plays a major character in the movie. They don't have any on there. He's got weird makeup in that poster. You might have to go to actually Breslin's page, and then it's got Kirk Jones, aka Sticky Fingers from Onyx.
Sticky.
Who I got the interview about this, so I'll be posting that interview this week. Shannon Doherty shows up. Here's what's weird about this movie. This is the weird part of the movie. There's a bunch of random cameos that make no sense. Shannon Doherty's in it. She's got one scene in the movie.
Okay.
There's a moment where he's in the hospital, and the nurse comes in, and it's Cynthia Rothrock. No fighting, nothing like that. She just comes in as a nurse. She's talking about he needs to rest or whatever, and then she's gone.
Okay.
There's a food truck moment where, there he is.
Yeah, wow.
That's funny what he looks like in the movie, but he has facial hair. And there's a moment in the thing with like this food truck scene that's kind of a throwaway scene. This guy does whatever he does. He leaves. Then the next guy in line is Eric Roberts. And he's like, give me some of that such and such. And then it cuts away and you never see him again. It's like, I was so baffled by these cameos that I thought, I don't understand why these cameos are here. And there's never an explanation. I even asked Sticky Fingers when I was talking to him. I asked him about these cameos, and some of them he didn't seem to even know what I was talking about. And his only answer was like, because the director is just a man, So I'm like, that didn't really tell me shit.
Ask people to be there.
Yeah, so I didn't like. He was funny though, because I asked him like, what made you want to do this film? And he goes, because it said I was going to get to fight Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Heck yeah.
And then he doesn't in the movie. And then when I asked him, I was like, okay, well then what happened? He goes, because I'm Blade. You can't find me. I'm like,
he went all in on the character.
He did. I was like, dang it, man. I got no answer. But anyway, the movie is fine. There is action in it. It's not, by no means is it one of Van Damme's best movie, but it is a better movie than a lot of that straight-to-video stuff he used to put out. I think he's being smarter about some of the projects he picks. A lot of them are more story heavy. They're a little age appropriate of what he's trying to play. He's not trying to be the high flying pretty boy anymore. He's got the grizzled look to him now, and he's playing that up. Some of the posters that are popping up from him look like there's a ton of eyeliner and hair color. It's really weird because that's not what he looks like in the movie. So I don't know why they keep doing that. But it's nothing new, and if you want to go by that standpoint of saying, hey, ooh, Van Damme, it's the fight's a little more dirty. He's hitting people, throwing people, and there's some kicks, but it's not. But if I get to have anything with Van Damme in there, I'm still happy. So,
yeah.
If you want to see a new Van Damme movie, or if you just like kind of these gritty actioner type things, and check it out, Darkness of Man hits digital this week. And also my interview with Sticky Fingers will pop up. And can I just tell you a funny text message I got leading up to that interview? So we were planning, the interview was scheduled and then had to cancel it We Die Young's another one like that. It's kind of gritty.
Is that the one where he has that secret room? Which is that movie?
Secret room.
Where he has like the panic room and he's hiding out. No? Okay, I'll find it.
I'm not even sure I know what you're talking about.
You go ahead. I'll find it.
Anyway, I got a message from so the guy's name is Kirk Jones. So a lot of time when I'm dealing with interviews, it's very much their name, no matter what they're like. Method Man, they call him Method Man. I interviewed Method Man years ago, but they refer to him as Cliff, because that's his name.
Yes.
So I got a text message that said, "Hey, we're gonna have to move that. Sticky had somewhere to go. Something happened. Can we move it to such?" It just cracked me up, just because they referred to him as Sticky. If you don't know who Sticky Fingers is, he's from Onyx, and he's badass. I'm a huge fan from back in the day, and I told him too. I said I still had my cassette somewhere around here. Anyway, Darkness Man is available now, or will be available this week on digital on the 21st, on Tuesday. So you can check it out.
All right then.
What else we got?
We got one more to talk about.
All right.
Random left turn again. The Strangers, Chapter 1.
All right. For some reason, people are asking, why is this Chapter 1 when this is actually the third movie in the franchise?
It's a prequel, my friends.
Yeah, and that's part of one of the issues I have with this movie.
Uh-oh.
I enjoyed the movie. I really did. So in 2008, this movie called The Strangers came out that was supposedly based on real-life events of these people that bust into
Inspired by true events.
Yeah, these people that bust into this home and killed these people for no apparent reason. It was essentially, from what I understand, it was a news article or a news story that the guy heard and saw, and so he created a thing out of it. It's not based on the actual event or whatever. It became a massive unsleeper hit when it came out. Years later, they did a sequel, which was The Strangers Pray at Night, which the movie was okay, but we had the coolest screening of it.
I think that was the most memorable.
Yeah.
Like, I even forget about the first one, which is Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman.
The first one's a great movie.
It's a good movie, but I forget about that. I think about the second one as
because
the
of
first
the screening.
One, because of the screening.
We were at a drive-in, but they had it
like
a sit-out outside, not in your car drive-in. And then while but I don't know if
you could be in your car.
Was it during the movie?
It was during the movie, but you could be in your car, or you could sit.
Well, they had like a
tables,
seating outside area where you could sit outside,
with
big speakers set up.
around.
And while you're watching the movie, all of a sudden, out of the darkness, the strangers started walking
People
up.
dressed up in the masks and stuff.
They're just wandering around in the darkness, and it was creepy.
They came out of the dark.
Yeah, they were like
the middle of the night. I feel like.
Yeah, it was. It was middle of the night because it was a drive-in. It has to be. But they came out of like there were no lights, and all of a sudden they appear, and you're like, "What the hell?" And you're trying to watch the movie, but there's a stranger.
Yeah, it's like I want to go get popcorn, but I don't want to move.
And they did a lot of that promotion like this around the country for this new one too, where they were showing up. There's a video where they show up at Tiffany Haddish's house, The Strangers. So anyway, so what happened was that one didn't do as well.
Number 2.
Pray at Night didn't do great, but it was fine, but we all kind of felt that franchise was probably over. Then out of left freaking field, director Renny Harlin had apparently returned to his horror franchise, his horror roots. If you don't know Renny Harlin, he's did movies like The Exorcist: The Beginning and Cliffhanger and stuff like this, but he also did Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and he's done a ton of other stuff since that. So apparently he dived back in and he shot an entire new Strangers trilogy. All 3 films are already shot. And came out and said, we're releasing this Chapter 1. And this is a prequel. So a lot of the promos for the movie says, see how the Strangers became the Strangers. That's the biggest issue I have with this first one. But
I agree.
Maybe it's going to be part of the trilogy that we kind of discover some of it. Because in the first movie, I don't think we learned anything about anybody. It felt like the same as the first movie. Not in a bad way. Just another invasion movie.
And it's essentially like if you read the Scott Speedman, Liv Tyler first, when it says a young couple staying in an isolated vacation home. Okay.
This is the same story.
Terrorized by 3 people, unknown assailants. Exact same thing. These people are in an Airbnb in the woods.
Yeah. It's the same story.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm like you. I wanted to figure out like who these people are.
Well,
Because it's like, how did they become these weird serial killers? Because what's her name? The sad version of whatever. I don't even know what this girl's name is. I got to go find her.
She was on a show I liked.
Okay, well, she's like a sad version of what's the girl that looks like the other girl, the redhead?
I think this girl was from Riverdale, I believe.
Oh, okay. But she to me reminds me of the other redheaded girl that looks like the other redheaded girl that was married to Borat.
Correct. None of them are redheads. I think that's why you're confused.
Are they not redheads?
You're talking about Isla Fisher. And...
She's a redhead.
I don't think
well,
so.
in my mind from the...
Maybe she is. I don't know.
From the thing. Anyways.
Talking about Isla Fisher and Amy Adams?
Yes. Yeah. I think all of these girls look
Maybe
the
they
same.
are redheads and I don't remember.
But
anyway,
here's the thing. It's exactly the
it
same.
Is.
And if
but
you're telling me
I think,
how they became the strangers, well, I want to know who the heck you are.
Well, and I think this is where my theory
you have a theory.
Because I think this was reintroducing them as almost a reimagining, remake, replacement of the original film to set up that maybe in the next two films we're going to get the backstory of these people, why they show up, because it ends almost in a Halloween 2 position, you know, and because it's a to be continued. It literally ends, it says to be continued. I enjoyed the movie, you know, outside of that element of, okay, and it ends and I didn't get any of the find out how they became anything
it's
mentality.
One of these things.
Yeah.
Is it her? Is it Amy Adams? Is it Isla Fisher? Could it be Bryce Howard? Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
sorry.
I'm just saying all redheads look alike.
No, I just think they're
Bryce Dallas Howard looks nothing like the
rest. They're so striking with the red hair that to me, I just think it's her.
I think if you can separate the promotions.
Yeah, I know.
And say, okay.
I'm trying.
Because if you really look at almost any of these horror sequels, they're redoing the same movies over and over. There's not a lot of
new
change depth. It's like you look at any Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It's the same freaking movie every time. It's just somebody else dreams about it. You know, they just change the context and maybe where they're at. In this case,
at least you know what was interesting to me, at least with Freddy originally, was at least they went for a longer story arc in that horror thing, a continuation. Whereas with some of the others was just killing every time.
Yeah, they ignore us.
So So, but yes, I get what you're saying. So
I'm giving it the chance of the next two films, because I can't imagine, knowing the kind of filmmaker Renny Harlin is and being a fan of a lot of stuff,
some story.
And to make a movie that he's even talked about eventually releasing a 4-hour cut that's all three movies as one thing.
That would be interesting.
Because his thing wasn't even like, I think this is how it should be seen. It was, can people sit through 4 hours of this blood and terror and whatever? Because this movie does come off a little terrifying in moments, but not because it's scary, but because it still grounds itself in realism, that there could really be, these aren't like those unstoppable killer slashers. These are real people that could just show up and just start cutting you and do shit to you. And,
for no reason.
You know, and I think these kind of movies...
Like Home Invasion is scary.
Yeah, and I think that's why the first Strangers movie was so freaky to most people, is because it felt like, oh God, people could do this.
Like, if this can happen to Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler, the rest of us are not safe.
Right.
To these two beautiful people.
And it's interesting, is this movie, they're only tormenting two people for the most part through the entire movie, so they had to stretch it out. And yes, there's some moments where it's like, okay, we get it, you know, but that's in every horror film. You kind of accept that part of the.
But you work with it.
But at the end of it, I still enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
I
liked it. It's not the scariest thing you've ever seen, but it was good and it had some good kills.
I think it's better than the second one.
Yeah.
I think it's on par with the first one.
Yeah, it's up there.
And I think it left me wanting to see where the story was going.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're giving me a to be continued, like, I need to know what happened.
I just hope that we're not going to have to wait years and years. I hope they release at least part 2 before the end of this year.
Yeah.
And then maybe part 3 at the beginning of next year. If not, getting them all of them this year. But apparently it did well enough that, because it's pretty low budgeted, so I think it did well enough in its first weekend that Lionsgate's probably excited about it, because it's probably reinvigorated the franchise.
I'd be interested. I might need to go back and watch, because where did this occur and where did the first one occur? So maybe, are they traveling? Is that part of the story? I didn't pay that much attention.
I don't know. I like I do like that we only get one piece of dialogue. The strangers, I think it's from the girl.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, and it's such a great creepy line of like, why are you doing this? And she's like, because you're here. Mm-hmm. And that just makes it more terrifying, because it's not like you did something to my cousin's sister's aunt's mom.
Yeah.
It's not because I have this urge to eat your face. Just you're here and I decided to kill you. So that's why I'm wondering. There's got to be some story, whether it's the house that they were staying in, something those people did, or something. And it's hard to tell too the dynamic of the people that are doing it. Is it a family, like a mother, a married couple and their kid? Are they brothers and sisters?
I want to know. In the first movie, did they have the knock on the door happening? I need to go watch.
I believe so.
I didn't pay attention.
It happened in all of it. It's been so long since we watched it.
Because I want to know, who's Tamara? Did something actually happen to Tamara that made this one person go cray cray, or the family? Because he's like,
hold on, back up. What?
Is Tamara here? That kid. So who the heck is Tamara? Could that be the thing we're going to explore?
I don't know who Tamara is. Say that again.
Because the kid that keeps knocking on the door, the lady that keeps knocking on the door.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I need to go watch the first one again.
When the kid comes and says, "There's so-and-so here." I'm sorry. Yeah. But I think that was one of the people in one of the strangers.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the ladies or one of the girls.
I just think it was. I don't even know if it was a matter
But I
name.
want to know.
Yeah.
Could it be? Dun, dun, dun.
Anyway, I enjoyed the movie. And
it was fine.
And I really liked a lot of the promotions, because one of the stuff, outside of the posters they put out, one of the things they released is they actually released a Ring doorbell video of them coming up to somebody's house.
Yeah.
So I like the clever promotion.
Did you go back and watch it where it looked like she almost fell? I told you she almost felt like she had to
almost
reach out.
No, I hadn't looked at it. I know what you're talking about.
Poor thing.
Anyway, and I like the way this movie ended, because it had the less Hollywood ending.
Yeah.
Sort of. Because they could have clipped the scene and be the end of the movie, and you'd have just been like, what? And then did nothing else with it. But then they did a little tweak, so they said, okay, the story can continue. So anyway, I enjoyed it.
I also want to give props to the people wearing masks, because that's not easy to just walk around in a mask all the time.
Yeah.
Because some of those look like old school Halloween masks. The guy with the burlap sack.
Yeah,
I hope they put something on the inside so it's not chafing him.
No, he's probably getting shaved.
I just think it's interesting.
Anyway, The Strangers Chapter 1 is in theaters now. If you're you don't have to see the other ones to watch this one.
Nah.
But why not?
But I'm going to just check.
Yeah, I need to go back
and
we didn't get a chance to watch them.
We didn't this time.
So I think I'm going to watch them now that it's.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and watch it. All right.
Maybe we'll find out somebody named Tamara.
I know, exactly. All right, babe. Over to you, my love.
What am I talking about?
What's coming out?
What's coming out? This week doesn't look like a lot of new stuff. It's a lot of re-release type stuff. We've got The Guyver, which I'm super excited about. I hope they send me a copy of it. The Guyver is based on an anime property. They did a movie in the 90s, I think it is. It's not a great movie, but I love it. They're getting it a 4K release. Gretel and Hansel is getting a 4K release.
Oh,
Crimson Peak is. I don't think this is the one with.
Oh, okay.
I think that's Hansel and Gretel. I think Gretel and Hansel was the one that was a little more of like a dark horror. Crimson Peak is getting a limited edition 4K release. Escape from LA is getting a 4K release, but you don't need to buy that. Cloverfield is getting a new 4K release. Shutter Island's getting another 4K release. Thunderheart is getting a new release, as well as Bad Lieutenant. It looks like it's getting a 4K. I know that they're sending me the American Hustle's getting a 10th anniversary steelbook release. But that's kind of it. It's mostly just re-release stuff. Doesn't seem like to be a lot of brand new things this week.
Okay. Well, coming out on the line or at the theater, Monday, tomorrow, May 20th, a documentary is coming out and limited release, could be near you, called Multiplied. It's interesting to me, and I hope to be able to find it and see it, since it's one of those that's going to be slowly released. It's basically a documentary taking a look at these large evangelical Christian events. So one is shot at this big stadium gathering in Brazil, another in West Africa, and another as these people are going just to a different event. And they're following around these famous evangelists. And it's interesting to see the travels there, what happens when they're there, what happens after. So I'm curious about that. Coming out on Tuesday, Video Demand and Digital, the movie we talked about just a few minutes ago, the new Jean-Claude Van Damme film, Darkness of Man. Also coming out on Video Demand and Digital is a family fantasy film called Princess Hallie and the Jester. Goblins attack, capture the king, and the princess barely escapes with her life with the court jester. And they got to find a way to get back and save the father from the evil stepmother.
That's horrible.
It's not for us. It's a family film. Also on Video Demand and Digital, looks interesting. It's called Rhapsody in Justice. Stick with me on this one.
Oh, God. When you tell me that means I'm probably going to avoid it.
No, it's interesting because it says, after the election of Donald Trump, a new cable news program is born, and it is influenced by past civil rights struggles, and the producers are guided by the mystic spirit of children.
Oh, dear God.
That's why I'm like, you got to stick with me on this one. Also
Is it a documentary?
No, it's a drama.
Oh, okay.
But supposedly based on an alternate reality. But Lord have mercy, we've been living through some crazy times. It could be true. Video Demand and Digital, a documentary called The Irritable Heart.
How I feel about our marriage.
It's following the last tour of decorated Marine Travis Twiggs and his brother. They embark
Travis Twig.
on a final road trip journey. It is the story of their service and sacrifice, the bonds of brotherhood, and the mysterious final days of the brothers. It's going to be interesting. Coming out on Thursday on Prime Video, the movie we talked about today as well, the Blue Angels documentary. You need to check it out. Go right now to the theater. But if you miss it in theater, watch it on Prime Video. And also coming out, the Netflix movie of the week, In Good Hands Part 2. After the father and son have reunited in the last film, now they have to grapple with how they live together.
Have you seen this movie?
I have not, babe.
Oh, you're talking. No, I'm just asking. I don't know if you.
Following the events of part 1.
Oh, it just sounded like you'd seen it. So
yeah, I know everything. I am the movie person here. Following the events of part 1, the newly reunited father and son have to figure out how they're going to move forward after the tragedy of losing the wife/mother. So now, sorry, spoiler if you didn't watch part 1, that's what happened. Okay, coming out Friday. I am so excited to see this and talk about it. Guess what? We're going to talk about it. The new movie, Garfield. Whoop, whoop. The new Garfield movie. We already have some debates going to happen in here with this movie. Also coming out in theaters, Furiosa. Furiosa. A Mad Max saga film with Anna Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth, a bunch of people. It says it's a prequel to the 2015 Mad Max Fury Road. So better go watch that one before you watch this.
If you don't understand what it's about Charlize Theron's character when she was younger.
And Theron.
I mean, Theron, yes. When she was younger.
Supposedly.
No,
we haven't seen it yet. So
but that's what it's about. She's Furiosa. It's about her character.
Don't spoil it.
There's no spoiler. That's what the story's about.
I haven't seen the 2015 movie yet.
Well, then you're an idiot. It's 2015. You've had time.
Okay, go watch it. We're watching all the Mad Max movies. We will have a recapitulation and
have some copulation.
Recapitulation.
Well, I'd like to recopulate.
We're going to recap everything.
We're going to recopulate now.
Okay, also coming out in theaters, a movie called Sight. It is inspired by the true story of Dr. Wang from communist China to the U.S., where he develops an innovative technology that has restored the sight of millions of people. And also a Netflix movie, Atlas, the story of a woman named Atlas fighting for humanity against the evil AI that has decided the only way to save the planet is to destroy all the humans, which, of course, we know that's true.
What's that noise?
That is baby snoring. Oh, no, that's my dog snoring.
Oh, it's okay.
Coming to Disney Plus this week is a new documentary and biopic about the Beach Boys.
Is it a documentary? I thought it was
It says it's a documentary.
Okay, I thought it was an acting.
It's about the music, times, all that about the Beach Boys. Let's see, and I believe that is it for this. Oh, no. Dropping Saturday on Max. It's a new Lady Gaga musical experience, Gaga Chromatic Ball. It says Gaga as you've never seen her before. That's it. Over to you, Meg, for the contest.
Okay.
What is that about?
I don't know what you're talking about over there. All right, so we got some new giveaways this week. Finally.
Let me make it big then. Let's see.
Sorry, it'll take a little bit of time. First up is a new one, Creation of the Gods, Kingdom of Storms. This is another Asian epic with fantasy tropes. Looks like it could be some fun ones. We'll be talking about that in the next week or two. Of course, I still got some Keepers of the Beekeeper with Jason Statham,
So good.
also known as Stateham. We got copies of the blockbuster epic hit Dune Part 2. I'm waiting for this one to be able to finally get around to watch it and see if any of her opinions change, like mine did, of the second chapter from the first one that both of us were kind of like about. We still got copies of the Ocean Trilogy. It does not include Ocean's 8, but it does have all the ones with the guys.
Okay.
That's all that really matters because those ones don't have a job. No, I'm just kidding. Then we got some copies of American Sniper on 4K. It's a new release. The Bradley Cooper, Clint Eastwood film. It's a fantastic movie. I rewatched it. And of course, still some copies of The Departed.
Yep. Well,
we got some other ones coming up soon.
That's it for us. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Les Hollywood Matrimony. We love you. We thank you.
Hope everybody had a wonderful time at Texas Frightmare. We didn't get to go out this year, but I did go out to the Mesquite ISD Fan Fair.
We did.
Which is also a great show. It's a fun time peddling my artwork and doing art for
peddling
people.
Your wares.
Yeah, so we had a good time this weekend. So there's always something fun out there to do.
Thanks for being here. We love you. We think you're awesome. Peace out.